Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 488. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today we're going to be speaking with Mr. Jayson Thornton, CFP, and we're going to talk about tips to avoid getting scammed with business opportunities and as an entrepreneur. Now, the name Jayson Thornton may not ring a bell to you, but he has a very popular YouTube channel called Pocket Watching with JT, where he speaks about financial literacy, and he also uncovers some scams that are going on in the community right now. Now, I just want to let you know, on the interview, Jayson's volume is a little low, so you may have to turn it up a little bit while you're listening to this or watching this. Now, before we get to today's show, I just want to share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link to my latest book, Unlocking the Power of ChatGPT, the Ultimate Prompting Guide for Beginners. Now, you know AI is here to stay, so you can either ride the wave or get swallowed by the wave. You can go to unlockingchatgpt.com for more information. Also, don't forget, if you're interested in starting an e-commerce brand, a physical products brand, or a digital products brand, make sure you go to my website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, and you'll see a tab for BBA Elite, Brand Builder Academy Elite, which is normally $497. We have a holiday promo going on. It is only $97 using the promo code HOLIDAY, all lowercase. So make sure if you're interested in learning how to sell online, be it physical products, brands, or digital products, this is the flagship program that's been rocking for several years right now, and we're doing a holiday promo. Also, don't forget, guys, take 3 days and get 3 days free access to BEB Academy, which is our online learning portal. Go to the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Click on BEB Academy and get 3 days free access to everything inside the Academy. We have online courses, masterclasses, PDF downloads, and resources to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. So make sure you go to blackentrepreneurblueprint.com for any of these offers. Now, let's get ready for today's interview with Mr. Jayson Thornton from Pocket Watching with JT. We are live with my brother Jayson Thornton, CFP financial advisor, aka Pocket Watching with JT, or JT the Pocket Watcher. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, Jay, man. I appreciate the invite.
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. You've been in the news lately, but we're gonna get to that in a minute. First thing I want you to do, man, for people who aren't familiar with you, give me a little bit about your personal background, then we'll jump into your entrepreneurial journey, and we're going to talk about financial literacy and education for entrepreneurs and whatever else comes up.
Absolutely. So for those who are unaware, my name is Jayson Thornton, CFP. I am a certified financial planner. I'm a financial advisor that specializes in tax and wealth planning for my clients. Now, most people who are aware of me probably know of my YouTube channel, which is Pocket Watching with JT. It's a finance reaction channel. I react to bad financial advice that's out there on social media. I react to scammer news. So if someone gets arrested for scamming, I'll cover that. And I also react to people's questions. I take calls and people have money questions, and I do the best I can to give them a good financial tip. And, it's all fun and games to me. It's something that I do extra with my free time. But honestly, for it to grow the way that it has, I'm over 77,000 subscribers in the past 2 years. I'm really amazed that this many people find my content somewhat entertaining, because honestly, I was just doing it for the Black financial nerds who this is how we actually talk when
Right.
we buy ourselves. Like, we poke fun at people who claim to be financial experts, people who are promoting what we consider to be scams or pyramid schemes. And I just wanted to create content that I was actually looking for. So this is also a good tip, because I know a lot of your listeners are people who are either, starter entrepreneurs or mid-range, or just trying to think about it. The best thing that you can do for creating a business is to solve a problem that you see in a marketplace. And the problem that I saw personally was I was looking for the type of content that I now currently make. Because I could not find that content, I decided, okay, well, then I have to make it. Now, there's absolutely no guarantee that it was going to become successful. I just wanted to make something that I was looking for, that I knew a small circle of Black financial nerds wanted to see. But now that I see that there's other people who don't fit within the box of a Black financial nerd, they also find entertainment out of it. So one of the best things that you can do as someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, you don't chase the money. You don't try to find a business that's going to make you a whole lot of money. You try to solve a problem in the business environment, and if your solution is going to help enough people, then you're going to be monetarily rewarded.
Yeah, that's big. I talk about that all the time, either chasing paper or chasing purpose. And I'm telling you, a lot of times when you start to chase paper, you're going to be all over the place. And when a roadblock comes up, it's easy for you to quit, because there's nothing else behind it. All you're doing is looking for low hanging fruit. So I want the BEB family, the light bulb to go off. What Brother Jayson said about that, so I want to ask you real quick, man, in terms of your practice, did you go into corporate America first, or did you start your practice right away?
Great story. So now I got to go even farther back. So
okay.
Here's my background, and I know it's unique because I get to speak to a lot of people, and they did not have the experience that I have. So I am the son of small business owners, right?
Okay.
My family owns and operates a scrap metal recycling company in the St. Louis metro area. And ever since the age of 9, I've played a role in my family business. And really, if you're a part of any real family business, you most likely are playing a role, regardless if you are a child of a small business owner. And the role that my father put me in since the age of 9 was a bookkeeper, right? The guy with the numbers. Now, part of that was I was the youngest at the time. I couldn't be out in the yard operating heavy equipment like my older brothers. The safest place to put me would be the office. So that makes sense. But there was an additional factor that, I was a kid born in the early 80s. So computers and video games and playing with calculators and stuff like that always interested me. And I had an affinity towards numbers. So making me a bookkeeper kind of also fit my personality. So to fast forward, ever since 9, I've always played a role with working with my father with numbers. He would literally take me to the bank, have them count out like $25,000 to me. And then he'll set me at the table and like double count that, make sure it was right. Even though he probably knew the money was right.
Right.
He was teaching me these financial skills, and it just scaled up all the way through high school and even through college. So when I graduated from college with, a degree in accounting and in marketing, I came back to serve the family business. So I was one-on-one advisor to my father in the early stages of my career. I never worked for anyone for real outside of my own father, and I was his personal advisor. I mean, as far as working with his personal tax returns, the business tax returns, sitting in on investment pitches that people would always pitch him. I would be there, and they would have to answer questions for me, this kid who's like, when I was younger, I mean, I was a teenager, who he would let me ask them questions. And then being, 22 years old, just graduating from college, they had to sit there and get quizzed by this kid because my father had that much, trust in me. So I never had a background in corporate America. It was working with my father. Then my father actually got audited by the IRS. And being a licensed professional in the field, an enrolled agent, I could represent my father before the IRS in collections and appeals and stuff like that. So we went back and forth. I mean, they claimed that my father owed over $500,000 back taxes. And
What?
we're going back and forth for, I want to say, about a year. It felt like a year. We were going back and forth. And eventually I ended up getting it settled, and it was settled for just around a little less than $5,000, right?
Wow.
So needless to say, my father was extremely proud of his son, right? Mm-hmm. And he is known in this area as a business owner. He talked about it to all of his friends, all of his associates. And sooner or later, my phone was blowing up because people wanted me to advise them. And then that's when my own firm actually started. It was like, okay, I'm getting so many offers to help other people. I need to actually open up my own firm. And my father assisted me with that. And that's how my firm actually got started.
Man, that's an amazing story, bro. So wow. So you literally never worked for anybody else.
No,
pretty much, except your family business. That's good. How long have you had your firm now?
Now, man, I want to say I opened the doors of my firm in 2014.
Okay.
2014 is when I actually opened it up for people outside of my own, family. Like
right.
At first, I mean, the closest thing I could describe it to, it was like I had like a family office. For those who don't know what we're talking about, family office is a financial advising firm that just serves one wealthy family.
Right.
And that's kind of how it was, because I would be, my father would say, hey, your nephew needs some help with this, or someone needs help with that. And he would be paying me like a W-2 employee.
Right.
Not only advise him, but when someone else in the family or someone close needed some help, he would pay me. And then in 2014, I just went ahead and opened my own firm and opened it up to anyone who could dial my number or send me an email.
Right. That's what's up. You weren't Wesley Snipes' tax guy, were you? Nah, I'm joking.
On and on about that story. People don't even understand how that story went. They think it's just as simple. He didn't pay his taxes. No, he was influenced by professional tax protesters.
Right.
That's the issue that he had. And they allowed him to believe he did not have to pay taxes. So
was it that like sovereign? Was it that sovereignty?
It was like a sovereign citizen type of movement and tax protester. And that's another reason why, I go really hard on these people who are influencers, because they don't understand the damage that they can do to their audience by promoting or allowing their platform to give out bad financial advice.
Exactly. That's crazy, man. I wanted to ask you, man, in terms of financing your business, because I know a lot of times with entrepreneurs, that's one of the biggest impediments to, number one, start the business and stay in business, having the adequate finances. How did you finance your business? And I know you started out working with your family, so it's probably a little different dynamic, but did it cost you a lot in order to start your business, or how did that look? Take us back to that time.
So once again, I always admit, I come from a place of privilege. Especially when you consider the dynamic of the African American community.
Right.
I grew up middle class with two parents. My parents were married and are still married to this day. So a lot of people will say, well, that's not my lifestyle. Well, I can't talk about your lifestyle. I can only talk about my own. So when I got to the point where people were calling me to help them and be their financial advisor because my father was bragging on me, and still to this day, if you're within 5 feet of my father, he will brag on his son. And because he was like basically promoting, what a great job I did for him, I got a lot of early clients based off that.
That's great.
But I didn't have enough to really cover probably my salary that he was paying me. So he just basically said, listen, I'm going to continue to pay you the salary that I was paying you when you worked in my office here. You'll just be working from your office. I'm just going to be your number one client. And as you pick up new clients, I'll cut it back some. And luckily enough, by the end of that year, he was able to significantly cut it back because I got enough new clients, and he didn't need 24 hours services from me. But still to this day, if he rings my phone, he knows he's my number one client.
Nah, that's beautiful. So you are privileged, bro. But but you know what? Hey, that's what it's all about. You want to put your children in a better position than you are, and that's how we do it, right?
So let me follow up. So that's a great point, because sometimes I get pushback from that, and people say, "Oh, well, yeah, you're in a privileged position," but my father wasn't. So let's follow the logic here. We talk about how we want generational wealth in our community, but then we shame someone who has a little bit better of a position. So I just want people to understand, my father did not come from any kind of privileged position, even though he did have two parents. But back in that time, having two parents was not something that was odd.
Right.
Having two parents who were married was not odd in my father's generation. But he was a man who had to work a job in grade school.
Damn.
He worked a real job, a W-2 paying job in grade school to help his family out. No privilege. And an entire grind. So then when he became a business owner through having to work for other people, putting money off to the side, work 9 to 5 on someone else's job, and then you work the rest of the hours by fueling your dream with that money. He had to do that. So that when it was my turn to start my own business, I didn't have to. So those of you who don't come from the position that I am, just know you are going to create a situation for your children and grandchildren.
That's right. That's powerful. And that's what we talk about. I did an episode, because people were talking about generational wealth. Is that a scam? But I coined something I just call it transformational wealth. So that's what your father may not be generational. I don't know. It might be. He might have hundreds of millions of dollars to hand down. But it's transformational in the fact that you're able to start at a different level. And that's what white folks have been doing generation after generation after generation. That's why the racial wealth gap, in addition to, systemic racism and things that have been put in place in the system, that has kept us behind. But why don't you want to put your kids in a better position? Damn, it just makes sense, right? I want to ask you real quick, man, in terms of your target clientele, is there a specific type of client that you like to work with?
At first, it was mainly business owners, because a lot of my work was geared towards helping people with a tax issue.
Right.
And most people who have a tax issue, they're going to be small business owners, especially new small business owners, because the beautiful thing about America is you have so much opportunity. But at the same time, when you have that opportunity, you may not have the education, but you don't have to. But not having the education of how to properly deal with the books, how to properly file your taxes, even though you don't have to have that education, you are still held to the same responsibility as someone who went to school for it.
Right.
A lot of my clients were small business owners who owed tens of thousands of dollars to the IRS, and me coming in, negotiating deals and stuff like that. As my practice really progressed, it really came from a standpoint of looking at people who are either small business owners or they are trying to get themselves up to middle class or upper middle class, and they really don't know, maybe they're first generation professionals who make good money, but they don't have the money management skills. And that's where I step in. We develop financial plans for them to understand what's the best way to allocate their resources. Because as money's coming in, that's great. But when it goes out the door at the same rate or faster, you're really just spinning your wheels and you're not actually preparing yourself to actually build wealth. So before it was really targeted. Now, man, I get it from all over the spectrum, man. I've had clients who played in the Super Bowl, who's been seen on TV, and I've also had, everyday clients, someone who's making like $35,000 a year, who are willing to spend $450 for a quick, simple financial plan, and they go about their business, and I might see them 2 years later. So it's really not as focused as it used to be.
Okay. Now, I wanted to ask you, because coming from the back when I started at Dean Witter Reynolds, which is now Morgan Stanley, that's how tells you how long ago that was in a previous life. We were called stockbrokers, not financial advisors, and basically we were salesmen. And so when I started, we made commissions based on trading stocks. Right. And most of us we were in individual positions. You know, mutual funds, yeah, they were great, but you're going to make money in the individual positions, right? Right. So it's kind of now, obviously, it's assets under management. Now, with your practice, because I know some financial planners make commissions based on what they recommend. Some have a flat fee or fee for service or a combination. How does your practice work in terms of generating income?
Let me prepare you, because I'm about to step on my high horse.
Okay.
and some people in the field will say, JT is about to step on his high horse. I am extremely passionate when it comes to the field of financial planning.
Okay.
I mean, when it comes to studying the history of financial planning, how the CFP designation got started within the field, I am a purist when it comes to what it is that I do. I believe that there's a place for the sales side of the financial industry, and then there's also a place for the service side of the financial industry. I don't like to see them mixed, personally. I am service 1,000%. I have never in my life ever been engaged in a situation where I would give someone advice or recommendation and I make money off of a sale.
Gotcha.
I believe that it should be unbiased, no conflict of interest. You pay me for my time. I'm either going to charge you a billable hour for the time that I provide financial advice, or it's going to be a flat fee for a particular service, like the preparation of a tax return, preparation of an offer to settle a tax debt, preparation of a financial plan. Fixed fee stuff, because I'm just a purist in the mindset to where when Dick Wagner wrote the essay To Think Like a CFP, and what does it mean to have the mindset and the professionalism of a financial planner who's not motivated by sales, but they're motivated by service. That's just where I'm at, man. I'm just so focused on, it's about providing the service. When you engage with an attorney, you don't want to ask the question, are they giving me this advice because it makes them money on the back end?
Right.
And when you engage with a doctor, you don't want to say, is he prescribing me this drug because he makes money on the back end? I feel it's the same way with financial planning, but there is a place where, okay, after I make a recommendation, if I say, I think you need more life insurance, I shouldn't then turn around, put another hat and say, buy the insurance for me. I have a list of people who I believe are professionals, they're great in their field, and I will refer you to someone to sell you that insurance that I believe that you need. But I don't even take referral fees. If I refer someone to you, just do good by them. I don't need any kickback, because once again, I am so afraid of any sense of conflict of interest.
Right.
I refuse any type of commissions or anything like that, because it's all about my time and the advice that I provide. So
now I appreciate that, man, because there are a lot of cats, like I said, they're gonna direct you to where the highest commission comes from.
Yeah.
And so I want the BEB family to recognize and understand that gem that Jayson just dropped there too. So if you're unencumbered, you don't have any horse in the race, so to speak, and you're providing that service, man, that's a beautiful thing, because man, I know back in the day I had some coworkers. They were trading in and out of stocks, churning and burning like crazy.
Yeah,
you know,
and they'll tell you stuff like, "Oh, being in debt, that's not a big deal.
Right.
It's not a big," because they make no money telling you to pay off your debt. They make
Exactly.
money by you rolling over that 401k into some self-directed IRA that they
Yep.
manage for you. Me, I'm really going to look at it, and if I believe, and most of the time for
Hmm.
middle to low income people, it make more sense for you to pay off your debt than to invest money. I'm going
Right.
to tell you, yeah, you need to get rid of your credit card debt, because
Right.
having $20,000 in an IRA and having $15,000 in credit card debt where you're making the minimum payment every month
Right.
is dumb.
Yeah.
Pay off your credit card, no longer have that debt, no longer have those debt payments, and now
Hmm.
that you're free of that, just dollar cost average into an index fund.
Fund.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not as complicated as we make it.
Now, let me ask you with the, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, because you hear a lot of people and a lot of and we're gonna get to the internet cats in a minute, but you hear a lot of people talking about, oh, you need debt, you want to leverage debt on other people's money. So
Yes.
I'm playing the devil's advocate.
No, and I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
So what do you say to people that preach that, hey, you want to leverage, I want to buy 10 homes, I'm going to get 10 mortgages, and
Right.
now I can control $2 million worth of real estate, for only a couple $100,000, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. There's one or two things that are happening there. I'm going to go with the first one and talk about the second one.
okay.
The first thing that's probably happening in this situation is what's referred to as survivor's bias. Okay. Survivor's bias comes from a person who was successful in a particular situation, and they look around at the field and say, well, everyone should do this.
Right.
It worked for me. But the reality is, most people fail horribly trying to use other people's money. If using other people's money was so successful in building wealth, why do so many people go bankrupt? When you take aside the people who go bankrupt because of medical debt, there's people who go bankrupt because they attempted to use other people's money to build wealth, and they got in over their head and they failed. The vast majority of people who attempted, they fail. To me, debt is like a drug, or better yet, I'll say alcohol. Okay. There are some people who can go to a party and they can drink a beer or they can have a cocktail and they'll be functional and it doesn't destroy their lives. But there's also some people who become alcoholics. They go way too deep in drinking and it destroys their life. Most people are alcoholics when you think of the people who drink. There's only a few people, when you talk about percentage, that just drink responsibly and it never destroys their lives or causes some sort of hiccup in their life. There's many people who fell in that, and that's alcohol. Now let's switch to talk about illicit drugs. All right, now I've been in some rooms where there are people who are functional coke addicts. Okay, they can go to a high-end party with very famous people, and they can do cocaine and they can move on with their life. But 99% of people who do cocaine, it destroys their life. Now, just because there's a few people who can be a functional cokehead doesn't mean that I'm going to advise, go ahead and do cocaine. Same thing when it comes to being over leveraged with debt. Listen, I don't even take out loans for cars. I don't even do car loans. I buy cars with cash.
Straight up. I hear you. Yep.
Because I'd rather pay myself back than to pay a finance company.
Exactly.
So that's on that end. So that's the side of people who have a survivor's bias. Then there's the other side of people who are straight grifters. They've never built their wealth by leveraging other people's debt. They are probably selling you on something, selling you a course on how you can get $100,000 with 3 different credit cards from the bank. They've never done it themselves, but they teach a course about it. And they also maybe get kickbacks. Use my referral link when you go and get this credit card. So they get money off of it. So they're complete frauds because they never built a sustainable business or wealth off of leveraging other people's money. They just sell you on the concept.
Sell you the dream. Yeah. It's funny too. I talked about I have 2 daughters, and my oldest is 27. My youngest just turned 24. And so we talk about, credit, because when I came up, my mom, she didn't say anything to me about credit, right? I go to college, you get these, credit card offers. Right. And I swear to you, brother, I got a Chase Manhattan MasterCard, $500. I'm a freshman in college. I get the card on Tuesday. I go downtown on Thursday. I buy 2 Adidas sweatsuits and a pair of top 10 Adidas sneakers. I put like $350 on the card in 2 days, right? Now, mind you, I'm in work study. I got, I'm back, and I went to college in the late 80s. And so I was making like $35 a week work study, but a lot of that went to beer and drinking and partying. So I literally had a charge off on my first piece of credit charged off in about 6 to 7 months. And I'm like, I didn't realize. And I said, Mom. And she was like, well, I thought you knew. I'm like, nah, I didn't know. So I'm starting out behind the 8 ball. And it's funny. And I tell my girls, I say, credit cards are for people that have money, right? Right. So they're not extra income. So you use the way, like I use my credit cards and my wife and my kids, we'll use them for points, we'll airline points, and we pay it off at the end of the month, And so, but you got to have money to do that. Right. So I'm never going to have a balance, right? Up to here.
The credit card companies hate people like you. All your deadbeats, right? People who use the card just for the points, and they pay off the balance before the end of the month, then you don't get charged. You are a deadbeat.
Exactly.
They actually lose money because of it. The only reason they allow you to exist is because they know you're 1 in 100.
Yeah.
The other 99 are going to abuse the card and end up charging it up, paying the minimum balance, if that, and they'll be able to hit them with late fees and interest rates of 20 plus interest per year. That's where the money comes from. So I always tell them, you have to be extremely cautious. If you have addictive personality traits, a credit card is not good for you, because that credit card is simply going to fund your own destruction. You need to be aware of what's going on. Yeah, credit cards are for people who actually have the money to buy the things, but they use the credit card as an advantage for one, protection. Because if you get out of a deal with a credit card, you'll be able to get that resolved much quicker than you would if it was a debit card, right? Yeah. Then there's also the perks that they provide. But most people just look at a credit card as, like you said, extra money.
Right.
You're going to end up not paying it back because you didn't have the money in the first place to deal with whatever transaction you deal with. So I'm very cautious about that. Like the people who preach that, they don't see our side, right? I know it was a lifetime ago for you, but they don't know the weight of having a family come in or having a young couple come into your office, and they are saddled with debt.
It's crazy.
And the only advice you can give them is you need to file Chapter 7.
Right.
This is way too much for you to deal with. I can't debt snowball you out of this.
Right.
It's not going to happen for you. You need to file Chapter 7, and it destroys their life. Now, is there a comeback? Yes, there is a comeback.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
I'm not trying to get punched in the face, in the gut, and kicked on before I listen. If I can learn this lesson without getting beat up, I want to learn the lessons. So, they don't realize the damage that it does. They just say, "Oh, well, it worked for somebody. Maybe it worked for me. Maybe I got one client who was able to use 12 credit cards to finance their real estate portfolio. But what about the other 10,000 that went bankrupt doing it?"
It's silly. I'm gonna jump on the gurus and how to pick out scams in a second. But one of the things, and I told my oldest daughters, they both make good money, out of college, and they're doing well. I'm blessed in that respect. And I said, I got an American Express, and so I have the old charge card where you have to pay it off. That's one of the cards at the end of the month, right? And so if you don't, you get penalized for it. And so that's what I kind of started. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm only going to buy what I can afford. I'm just going to get these extra perks. And it's so crazy now because when my kids are like, my oldest daughter called me the other day, Dad, my credit score went down to 790. I said, don't worry, you're fine, right? It only goes to 850, right? I said, right. I said, you're good, trust me. I'm like, man, but that's a good thing. And once again, just kind of like you talk with your dad, having the ability and going through things that I don't want my kids to go through, not understanding credit, how to use it, properly. And I'm telling you, I told them, don't even I said, maybe your last year in college or whatever, because I'll co-sign for you. But I said, don't even really get into that yet. Because I'm going to tell you, when you get out of college, Mom and I paid for both of your educations. You don't have any loans. So don't ask me to come and co-sign for this apartment. You need a little bit of credit. Mom and Dad ain't doing that. Right. We gave them enough. Right. And that's and to your point. So I went to college. I had student loans. My girls they went to Duke and University of Virginia, went to real good schools.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, they don't have loans. And so that was one of our gifts. Now, I told them, you go back for your, masters, that's on you. But we wanted to give them a foundation. So where they're starting at a much higher level than we are. And now you take it to the next level where Mom and Dad, we set you up, you set your kids up. And I think that's how most of people think that. But the problem, I think, Brother JT, is they don't put the plan in place. And that's where people like you come in, who help people situate their finances and get to a point where they can, stop running in the mud. And a lot of that, man, I want to jump on this real quick, is people listening to people that may not have the knowledge and or experience to teach you something, right? And so I know you did a video not long ago, why people get scammed, right? I happen to watch some of that. So what do you think what do you think the reason is that people get scammed? Especially, I'm talking about our folk, because this is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. This is our folk.
All right.
This is a conversation for us.
Well, I'm working on a book, and one of the early chapters of my book, I talk about what I refer to as the original sin of personal finance. Okay?
Oh, wow.
And in my mind, the original sin of personal finance is that people are fundamentally lazy.
Yeah.
Right? And I know most people don't want to hear this. But
human nature, bro.
It's true.
Yep.
People are fundamentally lazy, meaning if you were presented two options, one is easy and one is hard, your mind automatically says, okay, let's go with the thing that is easy. Without thinking, right? You're playing checkers and not chess. Without thinking, there must be something to this easy thing, right? There's got to be something to it, because if the options are easy and hard, it's not really an option.
Right.
Everyone would simply do the thing that's easy. Hard wouldn't even be a part of the formula. So you got to ask yourself the question, why is there even an option? See, my father, and listen, I'm a daddy's boy. I used to sit by my father and just watch whatever he watched.
Okay.
If the Godfather was playing, I'm sitting quiet, sitting right beside him. Didn't even really like what he was watching initially. I just wanted to be next to him.
Right.
One day he was watching this HBO show called Oz.
Okay.
For those of you who have never heard of Oz before, it is a TV drama on HBO about prison life. And what I learned from that show is, beware of people bearing gifts. All right? Beware of people bearing gifts. When someone approaches you out of nowhere and they are very friendly, they are overly excited about you, and they're offering you things that normally you would have to work for.
Right.
Be aware, because what ends up happening at the end of the episode, I found out as a young child, that guy who was offering this new kid who just went to jail, He was offering him honey buns. He was offering him protection. I didn't find out till later in the episode that guy wanted something else in the back end.
Most definitely.
He wanted, something.
No pun intended.
Right. He wanted something that the kid normally wouldn't give up.
Right.
But it was too late.
Yeah.
I feel the same way with other aspects in life. I'm extremely suspicious of people who are overly excited to give me a great deal.
Right.
Now, if I had a great deal, if I found some great investment or something that is way beyond what the market would give you, I'm going to be 1,000% honest with your audience. I'm not telling any of you people who I don't personally know. I'm going to give that deal to a close relative of mine before I tell the public. Because those type of deals are, one, extremely rare, right? Two, when a lot of people get in on it, it waters down the deal and I lose my competitive advantage.
Yep.
But when someone is just coming to me that I have no prior relationship with and they're talking about all this great things that they're going to do for me, I know it's BS. Because that's not how the real business world works. If there is a particular deal that, hey, man, this is a great deal, probably get you 20, 30% in 6 months, you're probably giving that to your wife or your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
You don't do that with new people. So that's the telltale sign. Once again, the guy in jail giving you honey buns, he wants something. Well, the investment advisor, the financial guru, the guy online who's an expert in this and an expert in that, he's giving you this so-called great deal because there's something on the back end for him, because otherwise he would not be offering it. So one thing that I tell people to do, you have to be skeptical. I think skepticism gets a bad rap when it comes to the business world. Like people say, oh, well, if you were one of the 5 people that Mark Zuckerberg offered a business meeting with, and you could have been a partner on Facebook, you wouldn't have accepted the invite because you would have been too skeptical. All right, well, listen up, people. Last time I checked, you are not a student enrolled at Harvard.
Right.
Okay? Don't try to compare your multi-level marketing home business with an opportunity that an extremely bright Harvard student was offering his other extremely bright Harvard classmates. You are selling lotions, potions, and supplement pills, okay? Not the same level. Skepticism is a survival trait that has allowed the human culture and to survive for thousands of years. Skepticism does that. When our ancestors would hear something wrestling around in the weeds, they ran, not because they saw the predator, because they were suspicious that a predator was there. Now, I can imagine some sort of ancestor of ours say, well, don't run. Check it out first. You haven't been bit yet. Go into those bushes and find out what that is. No, still to this day, if I'm on the block and someone's running, I run too. I don't need to know what they're running from. I'll find that out later when I'm safe. I'm not going to wait to see, oh, that's what they're running for. Smack.
Right.
It's the same thing financially. You have to really guard yourself. I have seen people who have worked their lives. We're talking about 30, 40 plus years in the industry of whatever they were in.
Right.
To build up a nest egg of 100,000, 200,000, 800,000, whatever is big money to you, that's what they built up.
Mm-hmm.
To work 30 or 40 plus years to earn that type of money and hand it over to a scammer in the span of 2 weeks. 2 weeks?
Crazy.
They
Crazy.
met the person 2 weeks ago and allowed them to walk away with a sum of money that took them their entire working life to build up. Skepticism is a good thing.
Yeah. Let me ask you this too, man. One of the things that I think is important, especially for our community, is I think a lot of times we get enamored by the glitz, the BS, the flash. I've seen some, I'm not even gonna call any names, but I've seen some pure, as my grandma would say, pure D fools out there throwing money around in their underwear, doing all kind of stupid stuff. And it gets the attention of a certain type of mark. Basically, that's what you are. You're a mark. Yes. And the important thing that I always tell people, what are those 3 letters at the back of your name? What is that? See, there needs to be a level of proficiency in education, right? So I used to have a mortgage brokerage firm. I'm actually opening up a new one now with my friend. Hey, go licensing, all of that, background check, the whole shebang. I used to have a Series 763 and a Series 3 license, commodities exam, federal FBI fingerprints, background check. Yes. And so I'm not saying that somebody out of the mud can't teach you something, but what are the credentials? And if they did it on their own, show me proof of what you've done. Don't tell me what you did. Show me what you did and teach me. But like you said, a lot of these cats, they're making money off the programs. Like I in 2015, I started a flat iron brand, right? I'm a bald-headed black dude. My wife's flat iron broke. And she was like, oh, God, what am I going to do? And I said, out of question, I always started importing products long before Alibaba. And I said, babe, well, how much does your flat iron cost? Mm-hmm. She said, it cost about $150, $200. I said, for this piece of crap? So I said, okay, light bulb, because I'm a serial entrepreneur. Right? Light bulb goes off. I start going online, going Alibaba. I'll make this real quick. And I get 3 samples from manufacturers. I let my wife and my girls try them out for about 6 weeks. Which one do you guys like? All 3 picked the same one. I didn't do this the right way, but it happened to work out. I had gotten a trademark and everything for the brand name I created. Nice. From China. The product not branded was $5.50. With my high-end packaging, closure box, nice box, magnetic closure box. Everything about the website was high-end. Mm-hmm. From China to my house was $10.78. I was selling that thing online for $129. From June of 2015 to December 31st, I grossed $272,000 at a 71% profit margin. Right. And so when I started talking about e-commerce, right, people, now I don't normally do this, but people wanted to see the 1099 from Amazon and from, here you go. Right. Oh, December 2015, $97,000. Yeah. So even though my major was finance, right? So I'm not, but I always love marketing, but I had proof to back it up. I'm not just telling you. I always tell people on my show, I'm not a guru, I'm a guru. Everything that I talk about, I have done or am doing. And the people I bring on the show are experts in their field, like you, right? So, but I'm just like, you have to, my mom always says, remember the source. So there's a reason people are talking to you and saying things to you. Who's that source? And do you trust that source? So I'm with you 100%, man. I'm with you 100% because a lot of these cats online, and I'm not calling out any names, but you got to have discernment, right? So if you in the word or whatever, what the Bible says talks about discernment, right? So are you going to give?
They feel it in their gut.
Exactly. Yep.
The problem is their greed exceeds their own common sense.
Bruh. Okay? And
they know that this sounds ridiculous. They know that it doesn't make sense. But what they're looking at the lifestyle that this person is selling them. And they'll say to themselves one or two things. They'll either say, if a Negro like this is making this much money doing this, I can't let him make this type of money more than me, right? I got to get in on it. So there's fear of missing out. FOMO.
FOMO. Yep.
I can't let this person get the bag like this, especially when he's offering me an opportunity to get the bag. He's
Right.
living a great lifestyle. On the Instagram, it looks like he's flying in private jets and they're doing all. I want some of that life for me too.
Right.
So their gut is telling them, no, that doesn't make sense. But their greed is shutting that up and saying, no, get in on this. Because they're living in mansions, driving in luxury cars. You want some of that too. So there's
rented mansions.
Right. Airbnb. So there's that aspect of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's another side of it, and it's a side of the culture that I hate, and I pray we can get farther beyond. I don't know at what year this started, because it wasn't my generation, because I don't know. But there was this backlash against education and qualifications.
Right.
My parents did not get the education that I have. But they pushed me to get it, knowing the value of it, the respect level that you get within the community based on it, and then what you can do with it.
Exactly.
There is a generation of people who look at education as that's a dumb thing to do. You're going to go to school and waste money. Now, clearly, if you spend thousands of dollars on a major that doesn't make any money,
right,
you're making a mistake. But in general, getting education is something that we should take pride in.
It's an investment.
The problem comes in when you have a culture of people like this whole generation that are already looking at educated people with credentials as something dumb or lame or a waste of time. Then you have scammers that step in and say, yeah, I don't have any of that stuff, but look how much money that I'm making. So now they're playing into two things. They're playing into the greed that I talked about before, but now they're also reinforcing this inferiority complex that they're trying to overcome.
Right.
Because the reality is, let's be real, just for a moment. There's many people who talk about education and all of this stuff. The reality is, when they get into circles with people who do have that education, they feel inferior.
Yeah.
They feel inferior. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a PhD. You have to have a bachelor's degree. You could be someone who straight out of high school joined a union and became a master plumber or carpenter. You have extreme value, because I can tell you right now.
That's it. Yeah.
If my car breaks down, JT's not rolling underneath that hood, baby. And I respect my mechanic. I respect my plumber on the same level that I do my attorney.
Yep.
Because when I'm in trouble, my attorney steps in. I pay him to do his job.
Exactly.
If a plumbing thing pops up, I pay my plumber. If my house is cold in the winter, I call my HVAC guy. I pay them their fee, and I respect them. And I look at them like, bro, I don't know what you did, but you fixed it. I appreciate that. I don't look down on someone who may not have a bachelor's degree or whatever.
Right.
You could be in a field that doesn't require it. You spent your semester hours not in a classroom, but maybe in a workshop somewhere. And now you are a master plumber, carpenter, something like that.
Right.
They see value in that. You have a generation who don't see value in any of that. In reality, they feel inferior to people who have those things. Maybe they're a plumber, maybe they're an attorney, maybe they're a certified over-the-road trucker who has hazmat certification, so they make big bucks because they're transporting hazardous material, big money. See, they don't have any of those things, so they feel inferior. And any opportunity that they can get to reinforce, no, you're okay. You don't need that stuff. All you need is this, the thing I'm selling you. You don't have to go to school for 4 years. You don't have to be an apprentice to someone for 2 years. You can just buy my course and you'll be making more money than those people. That's the other side of it. They're reinforcing bad stereotypes in a community that should be uplifting education. Education through trades and through the arts or science and stuff. All of that. but
Right.
education is always the key. They downplay real education and try to replace it with their course.
Yeah, and it's funny because, and I'm not going to hold you too much longer, brother, but it's funny because there needs to be a level of qualifications that are met, certifications, whatever. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a bachelor's, master's, PhD, whatever. It could be a master plumber, as you said, whatever. And I think that everybody now, it's almost like the nonsensical thought process of some of these young cats going to jail is just a rite of passage. It's almost like now coming out of the mud is, that's a rite of I came from the mud.
You're not cool yet. You've never been arrested. You never did time.
Right. And coming out the mud.
How can I listen to you if you never did those things? The goal is to not be a criminal.
Right. So the funny thing is too, and I look at some of these, and they're naturally, I know I got a good friend that didn't graduate high school, but he's smart as hell. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, that only goes so far when you go into corporate America or certain levels, because he could be smarter than most people in the room, but he doesn't have the qualifications or certifications to back him up or prop him up. And what I see a lot with, these cats coming out of the mud, and there's nothing wrong with it. Right. But when you're starting to teach about things that you need a high level of training,
things that are technical, that require a specific course of study.
Right.
Because the issue that I find that these guys are smart.
Right.
They are self-educated. Here's the problem with self-educating yourself. When you self-educate yourself, you are biased in what you study. See, when I was in school, there were certain subject matters within a particular course that I gravitated to, that I liked more than others.
Right.
It was only the teacher, the professor, who forced me to study other things within my course of study that I would not naturally go towards.
Right.
Because that's what's required in my field. I have to know all of it. Do you think I wanted to spend hours and hours learning the different type of trust that there are hours and hours on trying to understand how a company accounts for work in progress on a balance sheet, trying to figure out, okay, well, it was raw material on this month, but then it was halfway done on this month. I don't want to know that, because it doesn't really have a relevance in my current practice, but I still had to study that. Here's my point.
Exactly.
When you are not certified or licensed, but you are very knowledgeable in a subject matter from self-study, you really didn't push yourself to learn the things within the topic that you didn't like, because you didn't have to. You only studied the things that you did like. And when you come into a situation where you now need that information, you don't have it.
Right.
Worst part is you don't even know that you don't have it.
Yeah.
So now you're deluding yourself and believing that you can help a person in a situation that you're unqualified for. I got into a little bit of a back and forth with someone online who was saying, well, professionals and people who are licensed, they screw people over all the time too. So what's the difference? Here's the difference. When you deal with someone who is licensed, there is no 100% guarantee that they're going to be straight up with you, or they're even going to do a good job.
Yep.
The guarantee that you have is they have the education, and they also have the experience that qualifies them to do the particular thing. And when things go bad, you have recourse. If I do you wrong, you can go to the CFP board, report me. They can force me to do something to correct the situation. Yep. You can go to the IRS, report me. They can force me to correct the situation. If you go to a licensed plumber and he screwed you over, go to the state. That licensed plumber had to have got a bond. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, they put money on the table with the state. Just in case if they do something wrong, he's already paid money to correct the mistake that he made. All you have to do is go through the proper channels to get it corrected. The state will take money from his bond to correct your issue. You deal with a jackleg, you deal with just someone with no certification, no license. Your recourse is only to try to sue them. And most likely they're judgment proof. So you can't go to a licensing board. You can't try to get something against his bond to get your money back. You're just out. So even though, yes, there's no 100% protection if you go with a qualified professional, but there's recourse. And that's what we have to understand.
Right. And the possible loss of license.
Oh, yeah. That's all fear.
Yeah. So now
I'm not going to lose my livelihood to mess over one person.
Exactly.
When I have a whole rest of 20, 30, 40 years that I want to continue in my profession.
Exactly. Lawyers go through it. You know, when I was in the mortgage business before for 10 years, I had people coming to me with these shady deals. And I'm like, nah, I'm not losing my license or going to jail for none of that nonsense. Exactly. And so when you have somebody that's certified, licensed, or whatever field they're in, they have to go through certain qualifications, and there's recourse, like you said, that if I'm a CPA and I'm over here doing all kind of fraudulent stuff, I can lose my license. If I'm a lawyer, I can lose my license. If I'm a doctor, and so these are the things that, especially us folk, we gotta recognize and understand who we're dealing with, and once again, you know, what's the source? Like my mom says. Remember the source. Check out what you're talking about and what's the benefit. And not everybody has an angle, but there's a lot of folks that do.
Always ask yourself the question, what's in it for the person who's presenting it to me?
Exactly.
What's in it for them? It may be nothing, but at least ask the question, if not directly to them, to yourself.
Exactly.
Bare minimum, ask yourself the question.
Yeah.
Right? And once again, I told you about, you know, always being with my father. Always remember that opening scene in The Godfather where the guy comes in and he's presenting him with this deal to do, get into the drug business. And the Godfather, Vito, said, why do I deserve this generosity?
Right.
That's the question that Vito asked him. He said, why do I deserve this generosity? He's asking him the question, if it's such a great deal, why are you bringing it to me?
Needed protection, right?
Jumping on it the way that Sonny wanted it. See, now I'm getting too meta. You get what I'm saying? Sonny wanted to jump on the deal, and ultimately that's what came with the attempt on the Godfather's life, because he saw Sonny wanted to jump on the deal.
Yeah, and it's funny. And the guy came to him because he needed protection from the Godfather to run the operation. So that's why he's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart. No. He was doing it because I need something from you.
And $1 million investment.
I forgot about
so many times. You have no idea. Every time I watch that movie, even when I'm not with my father, I think of him. That's There's lessons to be learned about having a higher level of skepticism. It's good. Asking questions is good. And listen, I'd rather miss out on one life-changing opportunity by denying 10 deals than accepting all 10 and lose out so many times.
Exactly.
Because there's always another chance for you to get in on a good deal. If someone's pressuring you, they got the shot clock on you, they say time is running out, you have to get in now. I personally am offended when people put pressure on me like that.
Yeah.
And I always deny the deal.
It's just like a car salesman. There's always going to be a deal, bro. You know. Yeah, always. Brother, I'm not going to hold you. Let people know how they can get in touch with JT, the Pocket Watcher, Jayson Thornton, CFP. What's the best way to connect, man, or follow you on social media?
Yeah, the easiest thing, you can go to my website, pocketwatcher.net. It has links to everything. It has links to my YouTube channel. It has links to my actual firm's website. If you are interested in engaging with me for a financial plan or dealing with an IRS issue, just go to pocketwatcher.net. All my links are right there, easy access.
My man, I appreciate you, brother, coming on to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. That was an amazing interview with Jayson Thornton, CFP, from Pocket Watching with JT. Make sure you guys subscribe to his channel. It's a great YouTube channel that gives you a lot of information. So you also want to make sure, guys, that you use discernment anytime you get into a business deal, a business opportunity, or anything. So you need that discernment. You always need to make sure you do your due diligence. Are the people that you're doing business with qualified, certified, bona fide, whatever? You need to make sure that you're dealing with reputable people, because you definitely don't want to lose your money. Now, before we close it on out, guys, let me just share my social media contact information and all my resource links, and I'm going to do it super quick. Everything I'm about to talk about is on the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. And if you don't want to type all that in, just go to bebconnect.com, which will take you to the same place. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show, my new book is out, Unlocking the Power of ChatGPT, the Ultimate Prompting Guide for Beginners. You can go to unlockingchatgpt.com. Also, I mentioned BEB Academy. Just go to the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Get your free 3 days access to everything inside the academy. It's on the top of the website. Also, don't forget, if you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, go to BBA Elite, Brand Builder Academy Elite. It is also on the top of the website. The initial investment is $497. We're doing a holiday promo for only $97, so you're saving $400. Use the promo code HOLIDAY, all lowercase. If you ever thought about building an e-commerce business, this is the flagship program for you. Now, if you want to connect with me, anything long, family, hit me on my email, jayjones@blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. That's JAYJONES at blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Twitter, jjones001, JAYJONES001. Instagram, I have 2 IG accounts. The first one is jjones for real, JAYJONES, the number 4. REAL. The second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Also LinkedIn, connect with me there. Just type in J Jones Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. We have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. So go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and hit that subscribe button. Also, for all first-time listeners, please make sure you hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to this or watching this. We drop a new episode every Monday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you guys subscribe so you'll get all the latest updates. You know, I say this each and every episode because it's true, but we get more and more downloads because of you, the BEB family. I appreciate you guys so much. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the new website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, which I want to be the resource for Black entrepreneurs worldwide. There's tons of resources on the website, so please make sure you go there and check it out. We revamped the website and we spent a lot of money and time to invest in the website so we can give you guys more resources. So make sure you check that out, guys. Also, the whole ecosystem with the online courses and everything designed to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Remember, guys, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.